The complex case of Stephen May, the fine line between contesting the ball and the duty of care to be tested anew.
Fremantle graduates to the contending bracket with a stirring win over Collingwood. How far can it carry the Dockers?
And the coaches living the small margins that will define the season. Sam Mitchell and Chris Scott in the fight to book a place in September.
We've talked about is just step into it, embrace all of it.
Get in the room and fix it.
It's unedifying for a senior coach to do that.
They're on the side of caution with the brain. Take the man off.
They played the best footy I've ever seen at the start of the season. And if you'd said Brisbane lift the cup, I would have said, of course they do.
It's the stuff that legends are made of.
What is holding the ball? I don't think I could answer it clearly right now.
I could do something wrong, you know, and I need to go. And the board sacks me.
The fans love it, and with no fans, no 360, right?
The angles of round 19, Gaz, and the rise and fall of fortunes is going to define everything that unfolds from here.
Yes, no missteps from here. 5 weeks ago, Gerard, that's when it gets pointy end. That's officially, we've entered the pointy end of the season.
Got to ladder predictor stage, I reckon.
Yeah, well, for those that play in that space, I'm sure they've been busy in it. The ladder that matters right now has had a little bit of movement about it.
It has. So the snakes and ladders, which we'll plot for the remainder of the season. What Fremantle picked up on the swings, they gave back on. The Suns picked up on the swings, they gave back on the roundabouts there. They were the riser and they're the faller, and everyone just progressed a little past them.
I wonder whether they're going to push that out to 10. The old Sydney Swans are just sitting there going, hey, what about us? Don't forget us. I know they're the longest of long shots, but no, you can't. There were some terrific victories in amongst that, of which we're going to talk about tonight as well.
The Bulldogs couldn't get out of the death seat. They sit in ninth, so their opportunity to rise is about to come. They are celebrating the centenary tonight. It's the 100-year anniversary of the Bulldogs, so they've gathered at Whitten Oval to put the contemporary struggles apart and honour what has been in the past, and you'll be able to pick the famous faces here.
Well, there's Simon Beasley, who missed the dress code for a start, but their Brownlow medalist, Libba, there are some great names in here, in and amongst this group. The Brownlow medalists talk about Scotty Wine, who's done well. Bob Murphy, our very own. So it's a Monday night. It's an unusual, I would have thought when I heard about this, an unusual night, given they play Friday night as well.
Yeah, so the highlight of the night is the naming of the top 25 Bulldogs of all time. Right. And that means...
Doug will be in it.
He will.
Don't worry about that.
Right at the top, the historians and the judges have had to separate Ted Whitten and Marcus Bontempelli.
One of those judges is on the couch after our show, so he'll be put under all sorts of pressure to reveal which way Mike Sheehan went. Hard for us to judge because I'm older than you. So it's EJ and the Bont. Either way, you know, how can you go? EJ's the face of footy and the Western Bulldogs, and Marcus is the current day and the modern day face of them. So I'm not sure which way that goes.
Terry Wallace has got this great framing of it. He said the number one player is Bontempelli and the number one Bulldog is EJ.
Yeah, very good.
That's a really nice framing. So how do they sort it out tonight? We'll review that when we sit on Tuesday. Here's how our week looks. Chris Scott and Sam Mitchell are going to join us at the desk. Not only the fortunes of Geelong and Hawthorn, but the overall competition structure and a critical tribunal hearing tomorrow or Wednesday night that's going to affect a lot. Jack Revolt, Jordan Lewis, Nathan Buckley and Mike Sheehan is there again. Our Tuesday night, our players... Toby Green and Travis Boak, Ray Chamberlain. I suspect this gets pointier and pointier around the umpiring as well, doesn't it? And then our favourite pairing on Wednesday, Adam Simpson and John Longmire, plus Simon Goodwin. I know you've got a bit on Melbourne as we work our way through. Our Monday start with the awarding of the GVPs, the most valuable player from the previous round, 3, 2 and 1 in the estimation of just one man, Gary Lyon. It is the most sought-after prize in footy, $93,000 worth of Mustang GT Fastback from Ford. Iconic design, unreal performance, 5-litre V8 engine, goes like a dream around Albert Park.
I'm not sure if this man's going to win, but he'd look all right in the car, and he would fancy himself in the car. And I didn't think I'd mention the name Patrick Voss throughout the course of this year, but you can't go to the MCG, roll over the flag favourite and kick 6 and not get a nomination. Yep. He was terrific. The standard of the goals goes up in accordance to who you play on, and he just gave Darcy Moore a bath to the point where Darcy had to get moved off him, and then Maynard goes to him, he beats Maynard, he ends up with Charlie Dean. So they came with a plan. They said drag Darcy to the footy, and he did. And 6 goals, Gerard. There was heroics everywhere, but in the end, this bloke was the separating factor.
Cast off by Essendon.
Oh, don't. There's
Any supplemental pick by Fremantle.
I've got Essendon. I've got an Essendon supporter who's headless over this. So, no, he gets the one and deserves it. And then Tom Green was 16 clearances. He put on a clearance clinic against the Bombers, Tom Green. And it's my award, I guess. So there's no apologies. I just get drawn to this bloke every time I watch him play. He's as clean as anyone. His ability to win it in tight is... Look at this pass. That's a banana pass from 40 metres, if you don't mind. So, yep, I'm an unabashed fan, and he put on a show against the Bombers. So, big, lean, clean Tom Green gets 2 votes. And then it would have taken something pretty special. And as always, there's unlucky. But Isaac Heaney's played arguably his best game in amongst a resume which reads so brilliantly. He was unbelievable, Isaac Heaney. He's just as clean and pure as a footballer. He looks like a pure footballer. He smiles like a pure footballer, and he plays like an animal.
So this was the form that he was in last year, which he has sporadically produced this year, and we've seen it a couple of times. We saw it against the Bulldogs when he single-handedly challenged on a Friday night, and then this was it's as good as you'd ever see him play, with 5 goals out of the midfield.
I know, and his year last year, I think, has meant that we've marked him harder this year, which happens to the champions, and he's a champion of the game. So I'm not looking at the leaderboard, but is that his second lot?
It is. So he's up to 6. Dangerfield 9, Toby Green, Jesse Hogan, Matt Rowell, Isaac Heaney on 6, and then Steel side bottom, Cozzy Pickett and Tom Green slides up.
Steel side bottom jogged past me in the pre-game and went like this. He wanted to look in.
All right, it probably goes in camera very
Yes, it
soon,
does, very, very
I
shortly.
would say.
Very shortly.
All right, top of the agenda is the heralded arrival at AFL headquarters of Greg Swan. It's fair to say there's a collective investment in this appointment, the hope that he'll make the changes that are necessary and warranted and fix some of the glaring issues.
It's funny coming from clubland, you sort of have a pretty narrow view of life, but, you've got to do things here that are, the whole 18 clubs have got to be in support. Well, not all of them always in support, but, you'd like to canvass a lot of different views before you make a call. So, and there's a lot of people who have probably already looked at some of these things as well. So it's just whether we can fast-track some of these decisions.
26 years at Clubland and, vast professional experience before then. I think he adds a lot to our executive team. He's been a great contributor to the game over many years, and he's now got the opportunity, to make a contribution in a different way. And and I think you see the knowledge is vast, and we'll be the better for it.
What's your opinion on the standard of umpiring, Greg?
My opinion on the standard?
Yeah.
I think they're doing a great job. I mean, I think I said the other night, one of the things that's difficult for the umpires is the rules. We just need to try and, make them a bit simpler, whether it's the stand, whether it's holding the ball, whether it's, and again, that's something that I'm really keen to talk to clubs and coaches and footy managers about. Is there an easier way for these guys to have to adjudicate it? I mean, I think in general terms, I've said this a few times, and it's a bit folksy, but, if I was in Brisbane and I wanted someone to kick for my life, it'd be Zach Bailey. And the other week he kicked 1 5 and 2 on the full. So, people make mistakes and they have bad days and whatever. And the umpies are no different.
He's a pragmatist. He's a terrific leader. He loves the game. Yeah. And you've got an interesting observation. He's as dialed in to not just clubland and just but he's dialed into the constituency like few others.
Yeah. He's got a relatability which is really significant for everyone who's involved in the game. I think they can relate to Swanee. He is the everyman, and he listens to radio, he watches TV, he watches the shows. Every time you run in and talk to him, I saw you do this, I heard you say that. So, no, he's across the game from head office, and he's across the game in a way that the man in the out is across the game, and that's what's going to hold him in great stead, I think.
So what can he do in the short term? The main projects will be, what does he do in the immediate aftermath of the season? What does he put to the Commission through October and November for the structure of a fresh season? But he clearly has a mandate and a directive around the length of quarters and the overall length of the game. And you've been dogmatic about this. You've helped us understand and watch the progression of it, just the breaking of time slots and the absurd amount of time and what can be done. And he has a view that he could make an impact on this by next week.
Yeah, he's 100% across this. And this is the challenge for him, is to be able to do this in such a way that it's not jarring for anyone. And it's not jarring to cut this game back by 4 minutes, at least, to get it back to what it was in 2021. And he will take the simplistic options, which won't impact in a major way. It'll be, I'm not going to wait for the two ruckmen. The umpire can now say, you ready? Yep, and go, and away you go. That sort of stuff, I think, is the sorts of things that he could implement really quickly, and I think it'll be great for the game, but he'll do it in a manner that is, sustainable and won't upset the status quo of what has been, the 2025 season. But I'm looking forward to the off-season, massively.
Yeah, and the project around the umpiring, which he gave voice to there, the simplifications of the rules, what Adam Simpson laid out as the 19 catchments of the stand rule, and we know the various layers to holding the ball. It's getting something that is easily identifiable and can be implemented without all the layers of confusion and confection that's been added to it.
I feel like we've had our hand held really well by those boys who've invested their own time in the umpiring and to have Ray here every week. So we've invested in the whole debate and the issue. So I feel like I've got an understanding of how that can be simplified. Not saying it's easy, but how that can be easier for them down the track at some stage. But that would be more off-season. Yep. Those big changes aren't going to be made now.
You were triggered by dissent yesterday.
Yeah.
You weren't alone in this moment.
No, I was just... And this is what frustrates people when it comes to umpiring. And so... I don't know if you ever listen here. Is that sound up or not here? So this is the level of dissent. That slight little indication to the scoreboard was enough for that. That. So is that the standard we are expected to embrace as commentators, as supporters, to understand and then be able to impart that understanding to our viewers and listeners? Because if that's the case, then that is a nonsense and it's embarrassing, and they know it and you know it, everyone knows it. I've seen players do 100 times worse than that, and I'll show you some in a minute. And they've pointed to the scoreboard, and I've even mentioned this on this show. I mentioned this on radio. I said, "Oh well, that dissent's gone out the window." So it was hardcore for a while. Brad Scott brought it in. I was supportive. Okay, let's be hardcore. Get it back to respecting the umpires, because there was a challenge that the umpiring fraternity won't grow on the back of the abuse and everything else. So it was zero tolerance, and we all had to suck that up. And people were going, "Oh, I think it," and then it just slowly got released, and then it was up to us to work out where the water marker is. And for some reason, it's just been let go. And they go, well, you guys work it out, and we'll work it out. And so then you get that, and that wasn't too bad. Then you get a bit more comes in form of Harris Andrews, and then you get a little bit more in the form of all these blokes. Look at it. Now that's Gerard, that's dissent.
Yes. That's
the dissent. And yet that's not a 50. And that poor bugger on the weekend just had a gentle point to the like this. Don't tell me that is 50 metres. So just come out and say, look, yeah, got it wrong. No hanging offence, but try and take us along for the ride.
Which is it?
We don't have to sit there in the middle of a blockbusting game at the MCG and go, oh, now you're paying it. Yeah. Round 19. So we've got a final series coming up. Clear it up before the finals. Absolutely clear it up. Is that zero tolerance? Because it's not right now. I just showed you. It's not zero tolerance.
Is it the 13 that have been paid, or is it the 130 that haven't been paid?
And is it the 5 Adelaide Crows blokes doing handstands and doing backflips? Is that dissent or not? Clear that up before the finals, please.
All right. Here was Greg Swadden today.
If you're going to give away 50-metre penalties by pointing at the scoreboard or whatever, and everybody knows you don't do it, then the coaches will go nuts. So I know there was one paid yesterday, but my understanding, I asked about that this morning, there's been 13 of those paid this year, so it's not just that one. But, and people will point out that some got missed as well, but, I mean, I think everybody knows you're not allowed to do that, so don't do it.
So you're all for what we saw yesterday?
Yeah, don't do it.
Yeah, unless you're Shea Bolton and you do it and you get away with it, and then everyone goes, oh, you can do it.
All right, the on-field, a landmark moment for Justin Longmuir's Fremantle yesterday. You were there for it. It's the ultimate test, Collingwood at the MCG. They came from behind and prevailed. Now, what might it lead to next?
The motto we've lived by over the last 10 weeks of just living in the moment and making sure we win each day.
How big would this be for Fremantle to get a win over the top of the pops, Collingwood, at the home of footy? They need to prove anything to the footy world, but what would it prove to themselves? O'Meara, bouncing goal! The biggest test in football is the Collingwood MCG last quarter test. The prancing pony. Looks okay. The Purple Pony Club. They come from everywhere.
You get asked those questions a lot, and I don't really sit and rank my wins, but coming here playing against the best team in the comp is never easy. You come and play the Magpie Army as well as the team, and they're obviously playing good footy, so it's really gutsy.
How big is this moment for them? Jackson, Call, and Luke.
I think these are one of those wins that really makes you start believing that you're capable. You just got to give yourself a chance, and so we did that.
This is as big as you can remember here for the Freo Footy Club.
And there it is. There it is. They've passed the test. It is a colossal result for Fremantle. They've beaten Collingwood at the Coliseum.
You want to play with the grown-ups, then you do what Fremantle have just done then. They're out of the creche. They're in with the big boys right now. They've taken on Collingwood at the MCG to lock away final spot.
Live in the moment. I understand we've got processes to be able to enjoy wins, move on from wins, and then prepare for the opposition. And yeah, our fans can get excited, absolutely. People within Footy Club will get excited, but as far as the coaching group and players are concerned, we just got to enjoy this and then move on.
There's wins and there's wins, and this is one of those wins.
I mean, that's 3.5 hour plane ride on the way home. They will be really satisfied.
You've had 24 hours to contemplate that, Gaz, and I thought the echoes of what Justin Longmuir said in the aftermath, and knowing that they've been caught up in the flag mantle stuff in the past, which wasn't of their making, but just the big picture and aspiring, narrow it down, which took me back to, you laid out footy broke. Win, cash your chips in. They are reinvesting. They are a team that is graduating.
Yeah, we spoke about this early, didn't we?
Yeah.
And that is that you invest in your game, invest in a performance, and you get the win, and they just cashed out. They had this habit of cashing out, and they end up being footy broke. Well, they're now banking wins. So 8 of 9, if you don't mind, and they now get themselves into a situation where, their fate's in their hands. But of those 8 wins, they're against 4 wins against top 8 sides. So it wasn't just the weekend. I know they were under a lot of pressure, and the win on the weekend yesterday was really special. But their form line stacks up, and that's what should be giving them great confidence. And then you get to yesterday against, the best team in the competition. They're down 20 contested possession, plus 13 in turnover, Gerard. 23 inside 50s they gave up to Collingwood. And they had to absorb 35 inside 50 pressures, inside 50 tackles. They absorbed all that. They had 1 possession in their forward 50 in the third quarter. The margin gets to 22 points against Collingwood at the MCG, and they win. That's a win of substance. And the way they did it, Sarong was unbelievable in the last quarter, had 12. Hayden Young had 11 when he came on as the sub. Jackson goes and kicks the clutch goal. So, no, there was a lot to like about that. But the pleasing thing is there. We bank that, and then we go back to work. And I love the messaging that's coming out of Freo. They've got work to do. But by hell, they earned some respect yesterday.
They had to shed their safe skin to win it. And it did suit them. And there was that emblematic moment which you picked up at the time, which is Banfield to Young and up to Jackson.
And people, I listened to the reviews and why don't they play like that all the time? Well, the simple fact of the matter is Collingwood didn't let them. And that's what happens when you play Collingwood, who are out there. It was as good a forward pressure game that Collingwood imposed. So if you get too expansive under that pressure, you just give up even more scores from turnover, which they did anyway. But as it wore down and a little bit of the heat came out of it and a little bit of that pressure dissipated, then, and what it perhaps hasn't been done in the past, then when that kick's there, take it. And that's a legitimate critique of them. But as soon as that was there, bang, that was hit. And it was symbolic that Hayden Young's left boot just reminded everyone what they've been missing. And then Luke Jackson kicks the clutch goal.
The final moments of the game featured Darcy Moore dropping his knees into Josh Tracy. It's a 50-metre penalty, but nothing more. It doesn't feature in the MRO's readout at all today.
I didn't see this because these were the thrilling last moments. We were all going a bit crazy in the box getting involved, but this is not a good look from the Collingwood captain. I'm surprised that he wasn't given a fine, to be perfectly honest, dropping double knees into the back of that. Like, there was no reason to do that, to drop your knees into the back of the player when he's in that situation. So, I don't know. Why wasn't that side?
Yeah, well, presumably it was judged not to have reached the threshold.
There was a moment there where Clark got really upset and you just thought, oh no. just back off here.
Unclench your fist, mate.
Yeah, the game's in the balance. And the game's shot by that stage, but a turnover right there cost them the win. But, yeah, no, I don't think Darcy would have been... I don't think he looked back on that and be too proud of that, but it would have only been a fine. I'm not suggesting a suspension. But anyway, credit to the Fremantle Footy Club. It was a terrific performance.
The judgment that has come from the MRO is to go to the tribunal later this week with Stephen May, and it's the next test case in the way that players are asked to contest the ball and the duty of care that is to be shown.
You know, Steve's whole intent was to get the ball, clearly. If you just look at his pure intent, it was purely for the ball.
Both players were in line with the ball, seemed to be attacking it, to be fair, if I'm being brutally honest, and both sort of making a play at the ball. Maybe one person was one step late.
Kicks looking for Moyer, who's streaming towards half forward. Hand pass over the top, missed Evans. Loose ball, chance one direction, maybe the other. Big collision as Evans is cleaned up.
May had a decision to make. Evans collected.
Handball over his head. Frankie Stephen May cleaned him up the other way.
That was a huge hit.
It's a tough one, isn't it? He didn't lift the arm. He was desperate to go for the ball. He put the hands down for the ball, and then he probably, these days, you have to step out of the way, don't you?
Yeah, he's elected not to pull out. He was wanting to play the footy, but at the last second, he done the little brace, and that's all it takes, unfortunately.
I don't know whether our game is capable of allowing that anymore.
He picked him off. It's as simple as that. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he picked him off. This is from a bygone era.
I don't know, other than not compete, what can Stephen May do there?
He looks nonplussed, doesn't he? He's going, what else could I do?
He's of the Tom Lynch mould,
yes,
who doesn't mind hurting the opposition, though, so that doesn't help with that history either.
And unfortunately, in the game we're playing, has got to be coached slightly different. Because we know any sort of contact like that and high is going to be looked at really, really closely.
This is a 6-weeker. He's played his last game for the season.
He's in a bit of bony rubble, unfortunately.
So a concussion, a broken nose and a displaced tooth. That's what Francis Evans wears. The process here is really interesting, as Michael Christian referred this directly to the tribunal rather than issuing a 3-match ban. So it was graded as careless, high and severe. I think that's an acknowledgement of how in the margins this is. So had a 3-match ban been issued, Melbourne have to challenge, put up 10 grand. This way, it sort of goes to arbitration. This is to be argued and decided. And from what we gather, the AFL's not going to ask for more than 3 weeks. So they haven't referred it to the tribunal to max out the penalty.
Right.
This has been sent as a true test case, and it will swing largely on the evidence of Stephen May. Before I get to that, just give me your view as a former player.
So, watching it live, I thought he was a genuine player on the ball. Absolute genuine player on the ball. And we all see him differently. And I congratulate all the discourse over this. There hasn't been anything, over the top. I'd argue, I don't think he tried to pick him off. I don't think that's what his intention was. But what we're going to get down to is what can be acceptable in a second. Because the minute, or not the minute, the millisecond where May decides that he's not going to get there. Because I think right up till there, he's absolutely genuinely thinking he can get to that footy first. And then it's about what's acceptable in that split second. What can he do? What's accepted? What is expected to do in a circumstance like that? And I don't think he braced. I don't think he covered up to try and clean him up, if you like, or pick him off, as one of the boys said. I think it was just, OK, I'll maintain my momentum forward here. And the contact came to his shoulder. And then, so they're going to argue, I would imagine the AFL will argue the split second you realise you weren't going to get to that footy, you needed to either not stop, but slow down and cover and throw your arms out, for instance. Is that something that he could be expected to have done?
So I think the Alex Pearce case is instructive here. It's not the same because one's a marking contest and one's a ground ball, but I do think reading back over it today is some of what the measuring the decisive elements were hold. The first is that the tribunal made an absolute virtue that the evidence Pearce gave was thoughtfully given and it was obvious that he endeavoured to answer truthfully. So this will swing hugely on Stephen May's evidence at the tribunal, whether he's able to explain precisely what he did and whether it measures up with the vision.
Yep.
The Pearce case swung on, and I'll just relate this to May. Did May have a realistic chance of winning the ball until the very last moment? He's got his hands down, ball's coming towards him, then the ball sits up.
Yep. I would argue that he absolutely thought he had a play on the ball.
And then when he realised he wasn't going to get to the ball, did he do anything to minimise the contact?
Yeah. Well, that's in the margins. Did he do anything to maximise contact? Absolutely not. Did he cover up? Did he jump off the ground? Did he turn his body? I'd say no. And is it reasonable then to expect him to have been able to minimise? Because I don't think Alex Pearce did. I think, so Alex Pearce was coming with a velocity that continued on. He didn't bring his arm up or anything like that. And I looked at the Alex Pearce thing a lot this morning as well, so I don't think there's a hell of a lot different. So, look, it'll be an arguable case, and whether he gets off is going to be really interesting. I think the Alex Pearce case gives him great hope to go there and put it and go. He's on the pedestal as much as anyone, Stephen May, as you rightly said. I remember talking about Alex Pearce, and you said Alex Pearce is a very smart, thoughtful. He can communicate really well, and that held him in good stead. So here's the challenge for Steve May. I think he genuinely believes that he was hard done by.
All right, let's
his reputation might not help.
Yes, let's bring our coaches in. Their own concerns, Hawthorn and Geelong, both winners, both looking to shore up places in a really tight race for the 8s and the top 4, and then the broader issues of the game with two of the most thoughtful to join us at the desk.
Smooth Moves, brought to you by Jamison Whiskey.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking.
They say revenge is a dish best served cold. Well, Tasmania's weather ensured that it was pretty well frozen by the time it was served. It was all subtly done and taken in exactly the right spirit, which made you wonder about how it all panned out previously. Jack Ingham and Ken Hinkley entwined together in folklore for
I'm having a bit of a chuckle. Scotty didn't see it, so he doesn't know what the hell's going on. How'd you find it?
I didn't see it either.
Oh, of course you didn't.
No, I thought it was handled live. It was very difficult to have the press conference straight after the game. But when I rewatched it, I thought Guinea did a good job of doing it respectfully and enjoying the banter of the game without making it disrespectful.
I thought it was perfect. He put it to bed, and then you just for a split second you're wondering what, because you guys are aware of the camera on you. I don't know if you are or not, but then I'm looking at Kenny in the back. I'm thinking, is he going to go? Is he going to add some fuel on this, or is he just? And then he just started to chuckle, and I thought, perfect.
He seems to be in a good spot, Kenny. Like Guinea, it was subtle enough, but Kenny was perfect.
Yeah, he did.
You will settle on that, or does it still have a little?
No, it's all settled. It's all settled now. So, I think the next time we play them, it's likely to be a new coach and a new start.
Narrow and broad tonight. So maybe the narrow first, just on an injury front. What's the prognosis on Tom Stewart a day after?
Seems to be fine. So the feedback we got post-game has been reaffirmed this morning. He jarred his knee. Now, he's had a history of a PCL, but he was actually into the club very early this morning, walking around in good spirits. They think he'll be fine.
And so he took the opportunity to give him a little bit of extra time off in the game?
Yeah, but the game wasn't won, that's for sure. So it was... I know I'm more than happy to say this publicly these days. Like, my tolerance for players to continue to play while they're sore is lower than it's ever been.
Why is that?
Well, I think there is a case. It used to be a badge of honour that guys could play on and on and on being sore, when if you just take the chance to give them a couple of weeks off, they can play at their best. And I think the game's harder than it's ever been, and the idea of playing sore doesn't service anyone, in my opinion.
And I know this is, I'm pushing my own barrow, and the longer nature of this season, it's such a journey just to be still 5 weeks out from the most important part of the year, trying to get them to the line, which you've had great success with in the past, and you as a player have, but trying to manage that, I would imagine, is as challenging as it's ever been.
Yeah, and it can be, you can outsmart yourself, I think, with these sort of long-term plans. But I think in the short term, when you've got the best example I can think of is Tom himself was sick one day, and we thought it was a big game. We really needed him. We played well and won, and it was a great message for the rest of the players. And even if you go back to Hawthorn when Lance Franklin left, I remember Clarko saying, life goes on. If you sort of send the message that we're going to play this guy when he's 70% because without him we can't win, I reckon you're probably not in a good spot to start with.
What are you hearing about Finn McGuinness on a more serious front?
Yeah, I mean, it's a reasonably serious injury. So he posed after the game, and he's a tough kid. And after the game, he said, "I'm pretty sore." There's a couple of other things that they said, "Oh, we're not too confident what this is, so we better send him off to hospital." And he got pretty quickly. They realised it was going to be a little bit more significant than just a knock to the stomach. So he ended up heading to Hobart overnight and had some procedure done to sort him out. He'll stay there. He would have had scans around now actually, and then hopefully he'll be back in the next couple of days. But very, very safe, and take it easy with him. So
have you been able to isolate the incident or not?
Well, he's not sure, and so there's a couple of incidents in the second half that it could be either. It's very difficult to say, it's this exact moment, because he grabs at it a couple of times through the last quarter. So
he just played out, didn't he?
Yeah, he played out. He wasn't sure of anything that he was concerned about at all until he started to cool down. Even straight after the game, he didn't really mention it, and then sort of 15 minutes later, it cooled down pretty quickly down there. But once he cooled down, he started to go, okay, I don't really like the feeling here. And our medical team, they actually did a fantastic job. It would have been really easy. Look, we'll just get you home and we'll work it out. But they actually sent him straight away, and his parents were there as well, which obviously was a big win, having his parents with him overnight and help him out.
So the health side of things is going to be the overall here. His football prognosis?
It doesn't look great. I don't think it's been stamped, but it's certainly going to be a period of time out of the game. Not sure how long.
Jeremy Cameron, I haven't seen much of your game at all, so he runs out and finds young Alex Turu play against him. Does that change anything in the way you coach him, or does he just look at him and go, okay, let's see how you go, young fella?
It does a little bit, but again, I've explained this probably more than I would have liked to publicly before, so I might as well go again.
Keep going.
When it comes to Jeremy, Dangerfield, those sort of players, I'm sure Sam would agree with me on this. It's a conversation, and in my opinion, it's very rare that from the coach's box we'd intervene with those guys in terms of the way we want them to play. And 90% of it's done in the planning anyway. We talked about the possibility that could be the matchup. So if this, then that, if this, then that. And then in the moment, it's kind of like, are you seeing the same thing we're seeing? So it was a game for him to play a little bit higher, but, he still got on the scoreboard, so it was a good result.
Is he going as well as he ever has?
Oh, he's gone pretty well in the past.
Set a high bar.
Yeah, when he came to us, he did 3 hamstrings in his first year, and it took a little while to get as conditioned as he would have liked to have been. And I think it's a combination of him being in really good shape now. My opinion is that he's a more complete player than he was. He's become a player that's, well, I think I can beat them that way. If that's not working, I can change it up. We still talk about him playing as a half-back. He's that sort of flexible player that, he could do it all.
Do you remember when you pushed him onto the wing? I in my mind, I don't know when exactly it was, though, but how did that come about?
There's some chance he just went up there by himself.
There
is. Again, it was probably very similar to that conversation. This is an idea we've got. This is why we think it would work. What do you reckon?
Yeah.
He's okay at pushing back too, which I really appreciate. You sort of need that. One of the hardest parts as a coach is when you have players that just nod their head, yep, whatever you want, even when they're thinking this is a ridiculous idea and it's not going to work. You kind of need that to and fro.
If you don't ask the question, you don't know, right? So then you throw Jarman Impey forward in the last quarter and he kicks 3 goals, could have kicked 4. Is that something now you got up your sleeve? Well, how did that come about? Did he suggest it or did you suggest it? But now do you know? Okay, well, he just looked like he was a forward.
Well, we've sort of stumbled onto the sub being a running defender, and that gives us some flexibility because we've got a lot of players that can move forward, whether it's Sicily or Battle. We've done it with Barras. And now we've done it with Jarman. We did it with Carl Amon in another game earlier in the year. So moving him forward and getting Bailey McDonald into the mix meant we could go a little bit smaller. And usually we've done it with the tall because we've been a bit restricted with our tall. So I think with Jarman, when it's those senior players who've played a lot of footy, they have a level of, I've got this. And it's a great feeling as a coach when you can say, you're going to go to the forward line and that's the only instruction you give him and you know that he's going to produce team first, orientated footy that's going to have really high energy. And in a game where it's a bit wet and blustery, that's the kind of, it doesn't really matter about structure.
You keep throwing him down, you're going to have some issues because Kelsidier looked fantastic. Mitch Lewis plays his first game, maybe he's not there, and Gunston's just defying father time. So you're going to have a nice problem.
Yeah, it's the right problem. It's the right problem to have at this time of year, trying to get your mix right. And all of those guys have got some injury history, and I think I agree with Chris about you don't need to play every player when they're sore. Could Marbio have played last week? If we desperately needed him, it was the last game of the season, yeah, he could have. But is he going to be better for a week or two out? Oh, 100% he will. He even said, it's harder every week to get yourself up, and being able to get a break, especially with the short turnaround, I think it's important coming to this time of the year.
Jack Gunston can't be finishing up this year, can he? Not the way he's playing.
I did see on the run sheet that you were going to ask me about him and if I was surprised. And I must admit, the off-field stuff that he does is first class, and you see players playing much longer and adding more to the game now than probably ever before. And what he's done off the field is first class, and really that was all we needed. So what he's doing on the field is completely bonus for us, and his leadership and what he does. I think the thing about his game, even on the weekend, was he kicked the goals that really mattered at really important times. So this one, for instance, that was a key moment in the game, into the wind, and to keep us right in touch and to potentially get a little bit of a lead into the wind. So his leadership has been better than it's been over his whole career. He's really leading a group of young forwards fantastically well.
The overall, I know you like to deal in the week to week, but how aware are you of just how tight this race is? For the first time in history, it is entirely possible a team with 14 wins will miss. Are you keeping an eye on the big picture as well as what you need to pick off?
I sort of give myself 5 minutes at the end of every round just to look at the ladder and look at what happens. And I think when you look at the games that happened, and obviously the Fremantle-Collingwood one was potentially a big swing for a side, and you're looking at those things quickly, but you look at it for 5 minutes and then you put it away and say, okay, that's what that means, and now get on with your next assignment.
What about for you, Chris? You've got the dual race. You still have to shore up your place in the 8, and then there's the 4, and then the top 2's now not out of reach with the way things have squeezed up.
Yeah, I like to think of it as the coaches need to think bigger picture so they can help the players think more sort of moment to moment. But even though it's intriguing, it's pretty easy to work out. So once you're aware of it, then you move on. Like if it took some work to sort of suss out what it all meant, then maybe you'd spend more time on it. But it's like, oh yeah, every game's important.
It's a mythology or not, heavy load, training load, all that sort of stuff that gets put out into the ether. Oh, they're a bit sluggish because they're in a heavy. Is that about to be put to bed now, and you're just focusing on what you need to focus on, or is that just a myth?
No, I don't think it's a myth. I think every club periodises their training, and Collingwood might have been a little bit different to, say, the team that was 9th a month ago. But yeah, I think you're sort of well and truly into the period now where everyone's trying to play as well as they can. One, because you've got to qualify. Like, so even Collingwood now aren't guaranteed anything. But the other thing is, there's 5 games to go to work on your game, and it's just like, it's pretty clear that this year the team that really hits their straps when it counts will probably win. I'd be very surprised if it's the best teams for the previous 20 weeks are going to be the one. It may well be, but it's more likely to be the hot team that wins.
Have you got much that's keeping you awake at night at the moment? As you fine-tune?
No, never had too much trouble sleeping. You're always pretty tired at the end of your days. But no, I think it's a bit what Chris is going about. You're really always working on an aspect of your game, or multiple aspects of your game, and trying to refine them and make sure that everyone's aligned and the mix of your team is right and your individual players are understanding it and then performing it to that level. So, I mean, for us, this will be the first game at the MCG for maybe 6 weeks for us this week. So getting back there is a bit of a focus for us. Shorter turnaround. So making sure that our players are a lot of energy in this week is sort of our focus, and making sure that we firstly just qualify, because that's what when you look at the ladder, at the end of it, you always say, well, if we win, we're in. So that becomes the focus pretty quickly.
What's Will Day got to do? What has he got to do to tick the boxes for you to go, yep, there's your magnet, put it on the board, away we go?
Well, if he knocks on my door one more time, that's not going to help him, because he's driving me crazy the last couple of weeks. But he's done a lot right in this period, and round 20's always been the aim. So the medical guys have said that he's available for some footy this weekend, and how we decide to use him and where he plays and in what role, that'll be discussed over the next couple of days.
All right. The big picture's very much in vogue. We'll run it past Sam Mitchell and Chris Scott next as Greg Swan takes his position at headquarters, and Mike Sheehan is taking his position on the couch again tonight. He liked it so much last week. He's returned.
It's Jack Gunston now. That's what he is.
Yes.
fix it, Gerard. We'll go straight to the top and we'll get it done.
Keep 666, but the ability to put two wings on one side of the ground.
They never bought the stand rule in.
Umpires to become full-time.
The sub rule.
Flopping in the tackles.
Hands in the back.
No rough free kicks at all.
Association
The
funding.
incorrect
disposal. Bring back ruck work.
Abolish stats from kick-ins. Last possession out of bounds gives it to the opposition. I'd like to umpire from the couch at home. Fix it, Gerard.
Come on, Swanee! Fix it, Swanee.
You've been given the flick, Gerard.
Yeah.
You've done a good job.
He's in the chair. He's got a lop in front of him.
There he is.
Can we just run some of them past you that he identified today? If Greg's one rang you and asked you about the sub, are you a yes or a no on the sub?
No, get rid of it. Horrible.
Same.
Do you think it would be an 18-0 sweep on that or 16-2? Do you think that's the absolute majority view?
Yes. I think it'd be 16-2.
Yeah, if not absolute majority.
Yep. So
well, I don't think we're breaking any confidence. It was brought up and there were no dissenters. I'm pretty sure most of the coaches were there last time we got together.
The game length, which Gary has identified, I think you're happy on 130 yesterday. Can that be tidied up?
Easily.
What's the ideal aim, do you reckon? Just 120, 125?
I think the game's too long, full stop. I think they should shorten it. Shorten the actual quarter length. But the score reviews, like the umpires waiting for the ruckman to get to a stoppage is a complete nonsense. Like the idea that the umpire should be... Sometimes we've had players come from the interchange bench and get to the stoppage because the umpires are waiting for the ruckman. If a player's there, throw it up. If there are no players there, throw it up.
So the 100... that just came off. It's 127. What would be... just if you... My thoughts are 100 minutes is a great period of time, 425s.
I agree.
I'm 120. I'm a bit more... I like the game. I want more of the game, but less of the stuff in between. I like 120. I'd love a 30 minutes quarter. And when it gets to 29, you're waiting for the siren. At the moment, we send a message to our players sometimes going, this is going to be a 34-minute quarter. Okay. And so that's too long.
So I think I'd probably come a little bit towards you if it was the playing time was the same, but the wasted time was removed.
Yeah, just throw it up straight away. If you've got no ruck, that's on the players.
That's across the board. That's the easiest one for Swanee.
Throw it up all the time? Are you a bounce guy or not a bounce guy?
I like to bounce, but no recalls.
But why?
Because I think variability is one of the great parts of our game.
But it's not that variable. If it goes 4 metres outside the circle, they recall
They shouldn't have recalls. Just let it bounce. No recalls. Just bounce it. Their best umpires bounce it well.
No bounce. Yeah. No father-son either while we're at it.
You're not serious on that.
I sort of am. I think all these things are romantic ideas. Like when you get to a really equalised competition where every little bit matters, the idea that you have these huge outliers...
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's... I get it's controversial. I get it would be pushed back on by the romantics.
Yeah. So no father-son, no academies?
No, the academies serve a purpose. You just got to pay the right price for the player. Okay. And I think if it's really important to develop the game in New South Wales and Queensland, help Hawthorn, or Geelong and Hawthorn can help with that as well. Let's get up there and really grow the game.
Is there a way to simplify the rules overall to make it easier to umpire?
That's beyond mine, that one. The thing I would like, as far as the safety element, I think it should be more incumbent on the player who's trying to get hurt, that he is disincentivised to do that. That would be something I would lead
Free kick
towards.
against for leading with your head would be a great result. Stephen May, where do you stand on that?
If I were the MRO, I wouldn't have put it up.
At all?
No.
A football accident?
Yep. The way I think about these things and the way we coach our players is that you've got to be committed to the ball, but if in the split-second moment you're second to the ball, you have a very high duty of care to your opponent. And I thought he delivered on his duty of care. It would have been very easy for him to turn his body to protect himself. Like he's going for the ball, a bouncing ball, a bit of a bad bounce, sits up a little bit, his arms are by his side. I thought he did everything he could to mitigate contact, and it was an accident.
What are you, mate?
Well, we've got him in a couple of weeks, so that makes me a little bit biased. But I'm still in the... I don't think he was trying to hurt him. So I think intent should be taken into account with the MRO more than outcome.
Is there a chance dissent is back? So if we take yesterday at face value, pointed at the scoreboard's a 50-metre penalty again?
Well, it's not. Is it? Has that been explained to you, that if you point to the scoreboard?
A couple of years ago, I feel like it was explained, and hasn't been one since.
This is exactly my point. I've been a bit over the top on this maybe, but Swanee came out today and said, "Well, you point to the scoreboard, it's going to be a 50-metre penalty."
He's not even engaging with the umpire here.
But this is the point. You two are coaches of this competition, and your reaction to this is how football's been umpired up until that moment.
I have a vague memory that when the dissent first came in, they said if you point to the scoreboard, that'll be 50.
Hey, Sammy, when that came in...
But that's happened a lot of times since then. It hasn't been paid.
If you raise your eyebrows when we did the hard lockdown, you got a 50-metre penalty, and somehow it's just been left to us try to work it out ourselves. You want some clarity before the finals, I would imagine, won't you?
Well, that's one. Let's see if it happens again this week.
But Swanee said you put your arm up, you're getting a 50.
But for me, it's a bit like the protected area. You see a 50-metre penalty paid and you go, yeah, that is a 50. The problem is you missed the 50 before that. And, like, if you're going to pluck that out and say, no, that's right, all right, communicate it to us, and players won't. But my point is, if he's talking to the umpire saying, look at the score, he didn't do that. Yeah. He was looking at it for his own curiosity. Oh, yeah, that was a bad free kick. And it was.
Roof in Tasmania?
Two stinkers.
Tasmania. You've played in some wicked games.
Let's keep Hawthorn in Tassie playing games.
Great to have you both here. Sam Mitchell and Chris Scott with us on Coach's Night here on 360. It is Players' Night tomorrow night. Travis Spoke was once famously confused by holding the ball. I wonder what his take of it all is. And Toby Green, the Giants skipper, as they look to hone their run to September.
NAB Goal of the Year nominees.
Maybe the best trio of goals as a collective for the year. Liam Ryan got that to go through.
That is unbelievable. I actually saw this one from Mason Wood from the MCG, and it was equally as clever. Players of the modern era, Gerard, they do this for fun at training.
It was a soft touch to get it to turn in, but still elude. And then this is just what Jez does, isn't it? I shouldn't take it for granted.
No, great surprise. Sirioli Jr., if Sirioli Jr. was more selfish, he would have won... Morris Rioli Jr. was more selfish, he would have won the goal of the year.
Yeah, he had 90% of the goal of the year going.
That was it. He had the car, he had the boot, the bonnet, he just didn't kick it.
Scramble. How much of Gold Coast's pot did they hand back with that miserable first half?
They gave the pot and they kept the coins. That's where they're at right now, and they've got to rebuild the pot because, I don't know, Adelaide... We're all excited about what Adelaide are capable of doing, but that's not going to sit well with that man, Damien Hardwick. Yeah. You're no good doing what you did the week before and then giving it back. That's not banking your wins, Gerard. Yeah. That's what we've been talking about Fremantle. So enjoy last week. You don't have to win against Adelaide. It's a hard task, but you've got to put your best foot forward. So they've got a bit to learn still.
And doesn't it put a bounty on the Q clash? The little brother syndrome.
It's
that's a game. All right. See you tomorrow night.
I'll be here.
I've carried Melbourne over.
Oh, yeah, we can do that tomorrow.
All right, let's head on the couch with Jack Revolt.